If for our audience who might not be as familiar, if anyone's listening who's not as familiar with low code applications do, or what when you said, for example, you build applications for business processes.
Mhm.
I'd love to define those two things. I of course have my definitions of low code. I say, hey, the whole promise behind low code is that you don't actually have to be an application developer to build an application. And then if we had business process, I would say, hey, a business process is going to be typically, and from my experience, it's more than one application, meaning like, hey, work has to be done in application one, it's completed in application two. So low code tools or business process automation is like, hey, I want to automate that. Like, I don't want to manually move info from A to B. I want this to be done for me. Give us your definition of
Well, your
these
definition, I
categories.
think, is a pretty good starting point, and I'm actually I appreciate very much that one of the first things you want to do is a level set, because in truth, the term low code is being thrown around like candy right now.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the first things to say is that low code development is development. So you could use development skills to create lots and lots and lots of different kinds of applications. Same thing is true of low code. Some environments for building solutions are designed to be so easy anyone can do it. Others are designed to go for pure power, and there's a learning curve, but there's a reward for that learning curve. There's room in this industry for lots of different approaches. What I want to make sure that we separate, or we realize they all work together, but let's separate a couple of concepts. So low code means I can do development without needing to do things where a spelling error can break my application.
I
All
like
right. It
that.
literally means I'm using very little code. It typically means, by the way, that I'm dragging and dropping a lot of things. I'm configuring a lot more than I'm coding. So I'm making a lot of choices, and how that's done varies radically depending on which environment you're using. But yeah, I'm making a lot of settings, making a lot of choices. I'm configuring my solution a lot more than I am writing it. And by definition, I'm taking a dependency on somebody's tool of pre-written components, or somebody's platform with pre-written components, in order to put something together. Um, like Lego bricks or an old-timey erector set or something like that. I'm not going to saw my own 2x4s into the shape I want, or build my own bricks. I'm going to assemble things out of components. How much leeway, how many options are presented varies radically. But that's low code. And no code goes so far as to say, no, we don't want anything that resembles text in the configuration of this application. You are drawing and doing nothing else. No code tends to be simpler. It tends to be a little bit easier. It tends to be a lot more restrictive in what it's able to produce. But low code, no code probably should be treated as a group, and that's perfectly fine. Low code is just a tool set.
Yeah.
Low code is often equated with citizen development. And citizen development's like citizen soldier. It means it's not my if I'm a citizen soldier, I'm a citizen first, a soldier second. I do have arms that I can take up when I'm called into duty or something like that. But normally I'm a teacher, a doctor, a plumber or something like that. I will dabble in national defense if the country's threatened. Switzerland works this way. Basically, I think the term was initially coined in Napoleonic France, and I don't want to get too geeky about this, but I already have. So the point is, citizen developers have day jobs, but they'll use sometimes low-code, no-code tools to build one-off solutions for themselves to get something done.
Yeah.
Sometimes these take on a life of their own. And if they take on a life of their own and expand beyond one person scratching a personal itch, then we have the potential for a single person somewhere out there to become a one-person shadow IT department, and that can get weird. And in fact, I had written an article a while back and done a presentation at a Process Excellence Network event about you need IT's help, or citizen development without IT involvement is a recipe for disaster. There needs to be some sort of coherent coordination as to what's going on, or else you get chaos. but I don't want to discourage people doing innovative things. So citizen development is usually using low code to build isolated one-off solutions out in the trenches, and it can happen on a widespread basis. Low code, I've worked for multiple low code companies over the years. More than 50% of the people using low code tools, they're professional developers. Surveys recently done by Forrester bear this out too. This is not just personal experience. It's people that can code, but as long as they can get their hands on the right tools, they get so much more done in so much less time by using low code. The same motivation that would have you rely on design patterns or application frameworks, that same motivation taken to the next level is a great reason to use low code.
All right, so I 100% respect the fact that you are now busting myths, and I want to put it out there like that has been like in the marketing world of low code tools, like people have been sold and painted a vision that says, hey, anyone and everyone can be a developer, anyone and everyone can build useful applications. But you hit two big problems right there. Number one, there's you hit at it, which was, hey, it's actually not a good idea to just let people build whatever they want, because you called it shadow IT, but I agree, like you can't have that. I remember running a sales organization whenever our sales reps would start building their own sales pitch materials, and then all of a sudden customers would have misinformation. Right. They would sign contracts and be like, what, this isn't what I was promised. But that was the whole point, was, hey, when people go independent, the information control goes down. Okay. So that you hit that one. Then the next one was this promise that because I think that, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it, because you've been a part of it for a while. My first experience with low code was in the early 2000s, when like there were these application builders that gave the promise that, hey, you can just drag and drop your way to like building an iPhone app, or you can do that for a Facebook app or something like that. And you would try them out and they would always be limiting. So the idea is that you can do anything. They'll throw that out the window, and everyone that experienced that learned that, right? Then the next, like fast forward a decade, people will start saying, hey, low code's here where anyone can develop. But we know that can't really be true, because there's too many scenarios that a person could possibly want to build. So at some level, someone has to be able to code at the source level to change it. So I like the way you framed it, which is like, these are tools to enable developers to move way faster. They don't replace developers.
No, absolutely not. Well, first off, the whole motivation for this is twofold. The motivation for low code is to help people build things faster and to radically reuse things that have done before that worked really, really well. In fact, I would say any real development shop of any longevity, where you've got developer retention, people have been there for a long time, they wind up creating a library of reusable stuff that they can just rely on. And in fact, they're building their own low-code platform. What we're talking about are pre-written reusable stuff, some of which can not require the use of writing any code whatsoever. Like, for example, in Webcon, we will help you build a business process solution so you can sketch out in broad strokes the states and stages that your application is going to go through. And you can design or format the data dictionary that describes what's going to be worked with as you move from step to step to step. And then map them together to say, during this step, I want to see this stuff on forms. And when we move over here, I want to see these things. And as we move from here to here, well, in this step, I need somebody to supply this information, and they really don't even need to see this. When it gets over here, the stuff that was entered earlier, that should be read-only. This new stuff should be required. And you keep jumping through hoops, and you've got a mighty morphing form that adapts to the workflow context. That's really handy, and because we've done all of that already, and we've decided to have a paradigm where you model a workflow as a set of stages that you move between, that gives us a lot of room to deal with automatically tweaking the security on the item to fit whoever's been assigned a task during a given step. You don't have to write that. We did it. We can also adapt the user interface, kind of mentioned that already. We can also audit when you enter and exit a step and keep a copy of what was going on during then. So if you need to prove something happened for compliance purposes, the application platform can do that too. A good low-code platform is doing a ton of work for you so you can focus on your application logic and get it done.
Hey, thanks for watching. This segment is brought to us by Salesforce Platform. Visit salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role. Subscribe to this channel and get more great IT and tech interviews with top industry leaders.